Okay, good morning guys. How are you? Fine? Are you studying English and all the other subjects, of course? Okay, today we are starting a new unit on your book. So open Pure Genius, page 88, okay? And we are watching a video and listening to the recording, okay? So I have both. Okay, are you ready? Let's start.
What is creativity? Shakespeare's tragic plays, Mozart's sublime symphonies, Einstein's revolutionary theories. How did these creative geniuses create such magnificent and original works? What makes extraordinarily creative people different from the rest of us? Where do their special talents come from? Are their brains made differently from those of ordinary people, or do they perhaps work in different ways? Recently, neuroscientists started to investigate exactly where creativity comes from. Sophisticated new technology was used to monitor the electrical activity of the brain. They found that the brains of very creative people are in fact made differently. It seems that they are able to access the unconscious mind in ways that most of us can't. How do they do this? The part of the human brain that's associated with creativity is called the white matter and is comprised of around 150,000 kilometers of connections called neural networks. Surprisingly, it was discovered that there is actually less white matter than average in very creative brains, not more. Scientists were intrigued by this and started to examine its effects. They found that creative brains weren't organized as tightly as other brains. Impulses therefore travel more slowly along the neural networks, and they aren't forced to go in straight lines. They can travel in different directions and link ideas more effectively in the unconscious mind. Flashes of inspiration and new ideas, the eureka moment, are produced in this way. The good news is that scientists now believe that if we do certain mental exercises, we can all train our brains to do this and increase our creative potential. Maybe we can't all be William Shakespeare, but we can improve our creative writing assignments.
Okay, so if you want to become a genius, you have to increase your brain activity. Okay. Let's see now at the text. Okay, you have here, and you see that I underlined some sentences because, as you probably have already understood, we are talking in this unit about the passive form. You have already done it last year because you prepared, you get ready for the PET exam, and we did the passive form. But we are now revising and probably also increasing the abilities to use it. For example, our brains made differently, new technology was used, the brains of very creative people are in fact made differently, okay, and many other sentences in this passage are in the passive form. Okay, now let's see what we have here, okay? The passive form, okay? You probably already got it. This is the map I had already given you last year, okay? But I made another one which is more detailed in explaining the passage. You see that in the passive form, in the active form, you have the subject, the active verb, and the object. For example, the subject, the mechanic, active verb, repairs, and object, the car. You see that in the passage from active to passive, you have a change, okay, and the car, which was the object in the previous sentence, becomes in a new sentence the subject. So the car, the verb, which was repairs, becomes is repaired. Okay, so the use of the verb to be and the verb, the main verb in the past participle form, okay, by the mechanic. The mechanic, which was the subject in the previous sentence, is now the complement, indirect complement, okay, is the one who is making the action. Normally in passive sentences, the person or the object making the action are not necessary to be written, to be said, okay, because you can also say the car is repaired. It is not necessary to say by the mechanic. It is an added information. What do we have here? The active verb and the passive verb. The active verb repairs in the present. Passive is repaired. Okay, so you see that there is the verb to be in the same tense, okay, of the active. So if it is present, the verb to be is in a present form, and the past participle of the verb. If it is a regular verb, you add ed. If it is irregular, you have to remember the past participle form. Repaired, it is a past, and the verb is in the past form, the verb to be, was, while the other verb is in the past participle, okay? Now, let's see okay, passive when. Okay, when do we use the passive form? The passive form is normally used to underline an action, okay, more than the person or the object who did it. The cat was saved by the fireman is not so important. What is important is that cat was saved. To describe instructions, to give procedures, okay? For example, the water is heated up to 100 degrees, okay? So you have to follow instructions, okay? And you use the passive form. The water is heated, the floor is mixed with, okay? To give orders or to talk about something that is forbidden, okay? For example, smoking is forbidden, okay? Put in evidence someone or something that received the action, okay? They are normally, there is a missing apostrophe, okay, sorry. It is very much used, very widely used for newspapers, articles, or for example on TV. Instead of saying someone kidnapped a child, you say a child was kidnapped in the park. So the attention is given to the subject of the action, the subject who received the action. Okay, something also very important was, okay, no, sorry. Okay, here you can find here this guide, and it is important. Why? Because we talked about the affirmative sentences. Okay, the affirmative, the cat was saved, the water is heated, smoking is forbidden. What happens when I have a negative or a questions, okay, a question or a short answer? Of course, remember, there is the verb to be in the passive form, so you don't need any auxiliary verb, do, does, or did. as in a normal active question or negative form, okay? But if you have the negative, you add not to the verb be, okay? They aren't forced. If you have a question, you have an inversion between the subject and the verb to be. Are the brains made? Okay, so the verb to be at the beginning and the past participle after the subject. Short answer, you have to say yes, they are, or yes, it is, or yes, we are, or no, they aren't, yes, or no, she isn't. The same for the passive, past simple passive, because in the affirmative sentence you have the verb to be. So in the negative, you don't need the auxiliary did or didn't, but you say creative brains weren't organized. As well as in the questions, where the results changed by the scientists. Okay, so no auxiliaries in negative or in questions when you have a passive form. Okay, I think that's all. Okay, but if you need any extra explanation on the passive form, you can send me a message. I'm uploading this video on the school site and also on with school on our class, so you can watch it over and over again and do the exercises, because I'm giving you some exercises. You will find the things to do for Thursday on your site, on the school site, on our register. Okay, enjoy.